Hello, everyone. This is Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Welcome to This Week in Bitcoin. Today is September the 18th, 2020. Strong hand, long-term thinking. Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin. Don't FOMO on alts. These guys don't FOMO on alts. Offended by selling. Hello, my elite friends. It is early in the morning here in Baltimore, but we're here to give you a special show on Erev Rosh Hashanah because, we got stuff to do tonight, or some of us do. So anyway, if you've got questions, we got answers. We're going to have time. You could do a super chat. You could type in BitcoinMeister. Now, obviously, this has been a very busy week for us. For me personally, I've traveled from Asheville back to Baltimore with the family, dealing with lots of family stuff. But hey, I've been paying attention to the news, and wow, all of a sudden, Kraken in Wyoming starts up a bank, becomes what Caitlin Long has been dreaming of for ages. It's coming true. They're taking advantage of Wyoming's policies for banks and combining it with crypto. And oh my! And Kraken never dreamed they would become a bank. So says their founder. So we've got three new guests here. You've probably heard of these dudes before because they're on Twitter, and you better be following them on Twitter. They're linked to below. BTC Dragon Lord, Nico, and Daniel Prince are in the house. And we'll start off with the Dragon Lord here. What a name you've got, dude. What is your take on this Wyoming Bitcoin Kraken situation?
Oh, it's quite interesting. I mean, the compactor actually said that now national banks can custody cryptocurrencies, which means that any bank can now just pop up and start taking Bitcoin custody. But it is kind of like brings up another problem for people that a lot of people talk about, the 6102 executive order, which is like a nightmare for Bitcoiners and mostly for samurai people who are really, really crazy about this problem. It's quite a big possibility that could actually happen in the US again, that sometime in the future such custodials could actually turn against their users and comply with US regulation in order to take away users' Bitcoins. So the US government creates a legislation for it and then says that no, but it's not yours anymore, it's ours. Give it over to the Federal Reserve Bank, and then they take it away from you, and then it's not yours anymore. And you just have IOUs or some sort of a currency backed by Bitcoin, which is highly likely that it might happen. Since Bitcoin scales terribly, it's not able to scale properly, and because of that, it's more likely that the fiat money gonna get backed by Bitcoin, and government gonna try to mess around with inflation in order to somehow bypass Bitcoin's effect on currency. So this way, it makes more sense that the U.S. government might create some sort of a dollar substitute that is backed by Bitcoin in order to somehow cover the dollar's value that way. So there's less volatility for the dollar, and then hyperinflation might not affect the economy, the US economy that terribly. And then that's basically it. So this is their problem. And the other thing is that as more users going to be holding Bitcoin basically on custodial exchanges, that means that the less people will be holding sovereign Bitcoin, and they will be only owning IOUs basically. So everybody is KYCs already, and that's it basically.
Well, I mean, you've got a legitimate concern here, okay? But we in our little Bitcoin bubble, it's be your own bank, control your private key, okay? But come on, you've seen the people of the world. They want other people to hold their Bitcoin. They want to make it easier. I see this as a trend, okay? Wyoming's making it easy for there to be Bitcoin banks now. And I think people want there to be Bitcoin banks. So, I mean, do you see this, Dragon, as something that's going to keep on happening? Or are you in the mindset that it shouldn't happen, thus it will not? I mean, you don't like it, but can you admit that it's going to keep happening?
You might unlikely, but it's going to keep happening because it's the most natural step for banks in order to custody Bitcoin, because it's a financial product for them. It basically makes money, so why they shouldn't be holding it? It totally makes sense for them. But the problem is that as the fees gonna start increasing on the Bitcoin blockchain, basically, that way users gonna get forced stuff from the main chain onto other layers, basically, and then this layering might start developing. We're not there yet, obviously. So Lightning somehow has to morph into something better, or something better has to come around, which is not there yet, basically, and then we will have something better that people will be able to use just as easily as Bitcoin is right now, but. I don't see it happening in the next 5 years, so people will be still having sovereign bitcoins off of exchanges. I usually now when I earn money right now in Bitcoin, basically, I don't stack sats. I just get non KYC'd bitcoins that it then immediately gets coin joined, and then that's it, basically.
You see, you're hardcore. I mean, I figured this. You do the whole 9 yards. You go the whole, but so few people do what you do. I mean, I just want you to know that. I mean, it's great what you do. It's great. It's like you would be considered the perfect Bitcoiner. You don't deal with KYC at all. You're saying.
I do acquire them mostly through KYC, what I bought in the past. But nowadays, when I'm earning, it's non-KYC, basically. So only my employer knows who it belongs to, but then that's it. It's game over there. Government doesn't know it, and they don't give those information over to them, because that other government doesn't know who I am, basically. It will be much more harder for them to cooperate also, because there are two legislation between the two countries, and then it's kind of harder that way.
I want to say one thing about what the laws in Wyoming and what they're doing in Wyoming in the United States. It's not just about storing Bitcoin. They call it digital assets. You could, so there's going to be there are going to be banks, quote unquote banks in Wyoming, where they're storing Litecoin and Ethereum, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All right, I want to move to Daniel Prince. How you doing? What's your take on this?
Hey man, thank you so much for inviting me on, first of all, and to get to meet these guys. It's great to keep the network rolling. I don't know. I've not really had enough time to process it. My initial thoughts were not for me, and I think for you, to your point, those of us that are already here, we have gone through. It's difficult, right? It's hell to first of all, if you've been doing this for the last 5 years or so, we all remember that first experience. That was a huge leap of faith. And once you've taken that huge leap of faith away from the legacy system, you're going to be hard pushed to turn around and make that jump back to it again. And so I think those of us that are already here are probably looking at this news and like, nah. But those of us that are following us behind, this is going to be big news for them, and this could be a huge on-ramp for them. It's not something I don't think I'd ever. Well, I can't say that because I'm not fully delved into it yet, and it's still very, very early news. What gives me hope is, Caitlin has been pushing it, and she's a Bitcoiner, as we know. There are Bitcoiners on board on that project. Another thing that worries me is is it just going to be Bitcoin at the custodying, or is it going to be all of this other nightmare nonsense? Because if they are holding all of this other altcoin stuff, and when one of those things goes completely bankrupt, then what? What happens to the company? Does that break the company, or are they covered in some way? There's lots of gray areas which need ironing out first for me to get involved.
But what I would hope, because they are going to be dealing with digital assets, that they don't get into the DeFi side of things. We're gonna talk about that in a second. But I mean, if they're holding Litecoin for people, I don't think there's much to worry about Litecoin going away or something like that. I mean, there's got to be I mean, this is supposedly regulated. Not that I trust governments, but that they would have a standard of what they allow to be held at these digital asset banks based out of Wyoming. Now, I want to quickly read something from the article that's linked to below. By the way, if you guys are watching this live, please pound that like button and you can ask questions, definitely. Wyoming granted Kraken a license to create a special purpose depository institution in the state. The bank should launch sometime by the first quarter of 2021. So, okay, that'll be good. A lot of hype then when Bitcoin's surging, no doubt. Kraken Financial will be able to provide some banking services, including crypto debit cards, but cannot use customer deposits to issue loans. Very good. The line between crypto exchange and bank just got even blurrier. Today, the state of Wyoming awarded crypto exchange Kraken a license to create a crypto bank in the state, which is tentatively called Kraken Financial. Now, this makes Kraken the first U.S. crypto exchange to create a bank. So I want to go back to you real quick, Daniel, just to ask a broader question. Do you see crypto exchanges, which already are experts in handling cryptocurrencies, taking advantage of this, I would almost say loophole to become banks in the United States?
Yes, I think you're going to see a lot of firms moving across to Wyoming. You're going to have a bit of a gold rush over there for sure. This happened across all sectors before. As soon as a jurisdiction becomes friendly to a sector, you see a huge influx there. So yeah, of course. But back to your original question, I'm thinking, what service can they offer? Like you said, they might be able to offer an ATM debit card. Like that's hodlers again. Like who the hell wants that? No. I don't know. I think the existing community, it's not for them. It's people coming behind. And yeah, like first quarter of 2021 when stuff is going crazy, maybe that's good timing. I don't know. But yeah, for me,
you just
doesn't excite me.
It's a gimmick. It's that card is just a gimmick. We know it's a gimmick, but some people they love to have the card. It makes them feel normalized, like, oh, it's a real bank. It makes me feel confident in the system. They gave me this card. I mean, it's just like a reassuring. You're right. The services they provide. There are no services they provide.
Is anyone here going to send across 1 Bitcoin to that bank so you can get a debit card so you can go out and spend your crypto, your Bitcoin, excuse me, because
I am.
Anyone?
I wouldn't. Some newbie would. So some new person would like it. I think. I guess.
I do have one.
We'll see how it progresses. Now, okay, Nico has been silent here. You're in America, so you're gonna you'll have a take on this. So what's your situation here with this?
So I think I think it's too early to tell exactly what like in terms of how legitimate they are, because they are the first of its kind. So I'm kind of reserved in judging so soon, but I think it completely changes the game, man. Because one of the problems, right? It's not necessarily you're going to send a Bitcoin and spend your money. Okay, none of us do that, right? But it changes the game in the sense of it's a much better on-ramp, okay? And that changes the game completely because they're integrated with the Kraken exchange. So what you'll be able to do, for example, is if you run a Bitcoin business, like I run a small mining operation, like a hosting business, and we get paid in fiat, right? So, but imagine being able to purchase Bitcoin without having to go through all these extra obstacles that you have to go through nowadays, right? You have to, man, it's so complicated. You have to withdraw it to whatever, you have to buy it on Cash App, you have to withdraw. It's a multi-step process. And what this is going to allow you to do is it's just going to allow you, okay, I get paid directly in my bank, and from my bank, I could buy Bitcoin directly. And to kind of answer Carl's point in terms of KYC, yes, there is a major danger in the sense that, man, it's all in one place. It's this person's bank account and it's connected to his Bitcoin. Of course, as soon as you buy the Bitcoin, you withdraw it. But you know that you're going to be able to withdraw it. It's not going to be paper Bitcoin because it's integrated with Kraken, right? So you're going to be able to withdraw that immediately. And I think that's a big changer. But in terms of the KYC fear, right? I've been talking about this a lot the last couple of weeks. The executive order that FDR made in the 1930s that seized all the gold, right? That was very easily enforced. Okay. Gold is very hard to store. If you have over $50,000 worth of gold and you have that under your bed and the government comes on, knocks on your door, it's going to be relatively easy to find. It's not going to be able to. It's not going to be hard to. It's going to be very hard to store a big amount, right? With Bitcoin, you can't do that because, man, it's words, right? You could just cross the border with 24 words. It's just written in a book on a random page, and it's unfeasible for custom officials or the government to check every single person's whatever. And then the second point would be like, okay, but they have everyone's names, right? And they have everyone's, transaction history and all that, man. But then you're getting on this concept of asset forfeiture. And remember, the United States, you kind of have those rights, right? The government can't just take your shit. They have to come up with a reason. And what tends to happen, right, historically in countries where they do have a wealth tax, or they're extremely hard on the wealthy have this privilege where they could just get up and go. They could just leave. And there's going to be another country around the world that's just going to open them with welcome arms to say, hey, your country isn't Bitcoin friendly, come here. And we've already seen that happen with Malta. We saw that with Wyoming just now. And I think that the longer that Bitcoin stays around and it gets its tentacles into different parts of the U.S. economy, right? We haven't talked about this yet, but it was just announced that a public company just was purchasing a great deal of Bitcoin as a reserve asset, right? So for a president or for a politician to say, we're gonna do this to Bitcoin, they're gonna hurt all those Bitcoin companies in the United States, which as more time progresses has even more lobbying power, right? So I understand what Carl's saying, and I think that he's the most hardcore Bitcoiner here, and I think he's the one that's going to survive if there is some type of banned Bitcoin order. But I'm cautiously optimistic in what's going to happen because, man, at the end of the day, the U.S. it's if you could buy the laws, you buy the laws, and it's just money talks here, bro. It's just the way of the world.
I like how you. What I was going to ask about Wyoming, if this is going to really catapult them, well, to new businesses entering, is this the way other states should follow? Because on one side of here in the United States, we have states like New Jersey and California talking about how they have to have wealth taxes and horrifying taxes that I wouldn't be even able to imagine a year ago. And you're in Florida, which everyone says is the most business friendly state. I mean, quite a few people say that actually. So what is just your take purely on Wyoming? Is this going to help Wyoming a lot?
I think that Wyoming pulled a Delaware, right? So a Delaware is extremely business friendly and it's very private centric, right? So if you register an LLC there, you could hide who the managing director is, right? You can't do that in many states. I think the only other state you can do that is Nevada. But in terms of Wyoming, I think that it's a relatively poor state. So I think that they took this as kind of like an adrenaline shot to kind of spark up the economy. And I think they're positioning themselves. I think Caitlin Long explains this so well. They're positioning themselves in a very advantageous position, right? Being quote unquote Bitcoin friendly. So man, I think that for Wyoming, it's a game changer. Remember, you're going to have an office there, right? You're going to have a location there. But in reality, you're just registered there. You're going to operate around the country, right? So I think that for Wyoming's going to become the new Delaware of crypto, of Bitcoin.
That was the goal. I think that was part of her goal. I mean, you got to hand it to her. She's been talking about this for a long time, and now she talked the talk, and now people are freaking walking the walk. And that's exciting to me because I have seen it develop over time, and it's, people complain sometimes about Bitcoin, and the progression has been slow. But if you look at the bigger picture, I mean, this is there was a time when Caitlin Long wasn't even in Bitcoin, so no one could have even imagined special crypto banks in Wyoming. That was not back in 2016. That was not even a concept. So it just makes you think what we can't even think of right now. Now, I want to tie this all up and just give Dragon Lord the final word, because I thought you might have something to reply to what Nico said about Bitcoin confiscation, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, with confiscation is quite difficult. I mean, this is what I kind of dispute, because outside the US you can't do this. There is no precedent in European countries for confiscating gold, other than in England, where they basically offer people to give paper money for gold bars, which was quite different than in the US, where it was taken away by force. But you cannot take away Bitcoin. You just put it behind a passphrase and have a multisig or whatever else. You just can't take it away. You can always just say no. You're gonna go probably to jail or something. But once you get out of there, you're gonna be much more richer, probably, or something, because that makes all sense. So people who just keeps writing this confiscation bullshit, just think for a second that if they even gonna be able to take it away in the first place.
Again, you can't be confiscated. Unconfiscatable is one of the sayings around here. And if you control your private key, it is unconfiscatable. But what you pointed out before, it is confiscatable if you give it to a Bitcoin bank. I mean, they will comply. That was the point. I just wanted to see if you wanted to elaborate on that at all.
So
because
Adam, you're talking about rehypothecation, right? That's kind of your worry, right? Where it's like
I'm not
really.
I'm not worried. It's personal responsibility is a new counterculture. If people want to give up their precious Bitcoin to these Bitcoin banks, be my freaking guest about it. They're not going to they say they're not going to rehypothecate. They're not going to do anything.
They absolutely are, though. It's inevitable that people do that. It's just human nature.
Well, if they follow Caitlin's huge thing is she uses that word a lot, that no, they're not going to do. That's part of the legal terms of being able to do this in Wyoming. I kind of tend to agree with you that they'll find a loophole somehow. So somehow they'll do that. But that's why I don't mess with this, and I tell people not to mess with it. But at the same time, Bitcoin needs this kind of moment. Okay, we don't have to participate in it. We don't have to do mainstream financial activities with Bitcoin. But it's good that there's a state that allows there to be a Bitcoin bank. And to tell you the truth, I mean, it's better than like what New York does. New York is the complete opposite. They make all these horrifying rules you have to abide by if you want to do anything crypto in those states. Wyoming is giving guidelines to make things easy and free. So. All right, let's. I think we've covered all this. I'm just interested to see how it will all develop. So I let them compete. Let there be Bitcoin banks. Let there be Litecoin banks if they want to have it. People will have to learn the hard way, I guess. So we want to talk about MicroStrategy now. MicroStrategy keeps on coming up in the news because Michael Saylor, the founder. Is obviously now a big fan of Bitcoin. He's recently was interviewed. Apparently, everyone loves the interview. He's very pro. I mean, we knew he was pro Bitcoin. They just bought even more Bitcoin. They are going to own 0.18% of all the Bitcoin that will ever be created. So there's something an example, and we've talked about on the show before that if instead of having cash on hand, they have Bitcoin on hand. So maybe a bunches of public companies will do this in the future. We'll start, I think, when we were talking about this behind the scenes. Daniel, did you have thoughts on this?
Yeah, I do. Lots. So many things are going around in my mind over this. And the game theory it has just gone into absolute overdrive. If you are the CEO, CIO, or CFO of any publicly listed company, and you're not paying attention to this, you may as well, in 6 months' time. This is on now, because you've got to. This has to come up in every single boardroom around the world, every single company, private or public. And if you're not, then you're not doing your job, you're not paying attention, you're not serving your stakeholders, and you're going to lose your job. Because in 6 months' time, when this thing takes off like we know it's going to, and MicroStrategy's balance sheet is going to explode, and their stock price is going to explode, and you are the guy sitting in front of the board of directors, look, do you want to be the guy that brings up, talking about investing into Bitcoin in front of your board of directors and be laughed out of the room? Or do you want to be the guy that has to sit in front of the board of directors and answer the question, why the hell did you not think about investing into Bitcoin?
Dude.
That's where we're at right now.
Dude, that is awesome. That is awesome, man. We should make a clip of that, and all the CEOs should watch what you just darn said. Because yeah, you do look like sort of like a goofball saying we should do Bitcoin now, but and when they look back on it, they'll be like, "Oh my God, it wasn't a good." Yeah, you don't want to be stuck wondering why you can't buy like $40,000 Bitcoin now. It's very, very. I love that. Pound that like button. Okay, continue. Sorry, say it all. You got a lot to say.
Okay, and then the other thing. So that's game theory part one of how that plays out and how other companies are going to have to come into this space and invest. And then the other part I see. MicroStrategy, they're going to be in such a dominant position because they have first mover advantage. And Michael was talking about this, that, for another company to get this thing, done as they've done it, even to a lesser degree, is going to be anywhere between 4 to 6 months from now. So they've got to start moving quick. And they won't. We all know that. But if you kind of like project this out like 2 to 3 years time, when MicroStrategy are, all they have to do now, they don't even need to come up with brand new fangled ideas and new products and kind of wow the world. They can go back to basics, go back to the exact products that they've already got and just make them better for their customer and serve their customer really to the absolute potential that they can, because they have this safety net of Bitcoin, which is just going to appreciate. Now, 2 or 3 years down the line, when they want to expand and hire the best talent out there, they have this option to say, come work for us. We will pay you full salaries, full contracts in Bitcoin. And they're going to be one of the only companies that are going to be able to do that. And where do you think, we know that the talent in this space, where do you think the talent is going to go? So that's just another part of the hyper Bitcoinization story of now people can go and earn real wages. And get this, right? This turns everything on its head, because at that point, the employer will have to call the employee into the room at the end of each year and negotiate a salary cut for them, because they won't be able to pay the same amount of Bitcoin that they did at the start of their salary because of the inevitable rise in prices that we all think is going to happen. And this just turns everything on its head. And I can't stop thinking about like the different levels of game theory and whatever else that are going to play out, due to this decision.
Dude, that was very inspirational. I hadn't thought about some of those things. Paying their people in Bitcoin. That's you're very forward thinking, man. You should be consulting with them or something, or consulting the companies that haven't done this.
And think as well of the businesses to Nico's point earlier, the businesses that are being built now in this space, who are having trouble, like Nico's having trouble and need help from their enterprise software, right? They might need a service from MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy will take payment in Bitcoin, I'm sure. And so, you've got the perfect, man, they've got it all. Like, they're unstoppable. Go buy the stock, right? It's, if that's just another way for me to diversify my Bitcoin holdings, would be to buy some MicroStrategy stock.
Yeah, wow. I've heard people have questioned me about that. Should I buy MicroStrategy stock? Now, I'm not. It's interesting. I mean, they've got it going on. By the first mover advantage has really propelled them to notoriety. And what do you think about the CEO though, and how? I mean, it looks like he's going to become like a cult figure here in the Bitcoin community.
It definitely looks that way. I hope to meet. Yeah, I will be meeting with him next week on a shared call, and hope to be getting him on the show at some point if I can get a little bit closer to him. So, but he seems to listening to the Pomp interview the other day. I think that was a great interview. Listened to it a couple of times. Watched it as well. Actually, recommend watching it on YouTube, because then you get the body language and everything else. And yeah, I mean, he's straight up. I mean, he's one of us, right? He's a Bitcoiner. And, he said, I'm not in this thing just to roll out of it in the next 2 or 3 years. I'm going to hold this for 100 years. There's what I mean, think about that. that's $425 million worth of Bitcoin off the market right now. How many Bitcoin is that? It's like, he was up to, how many exact coins was it?
I just know what percentage is going to be of all the Bitcoin ever. It's like it's going to be like 0.18% of all the Bitcoin ever. It's a lot. He has a lot. They have a lot of Bitcoin over there, and it's not coming off. He's not dumping it back on. So I mean that's huge. So who's next here? I'll go to Nico. You'll talk about it now. What's your thought?
Yeah, man, just to kind of add to Dan's point, it's a total game changer. It's a total game changer. And I had, I would say, privilege to kind of work in facilitating a couple OTC trades. So I kind of understand how that works. And I'm telling you that if someone else wants to do that, first of all, OTC trades, the name of the game is not moving the actual price higher. Right. So they have to be very sneaky about how they go about this. And they do that over a long period of time. And, you know, they either go directly to the Chinese miners, the consortium over there, and they go to basically whales, and they try to, you know, get a little bit here, get a little bit there to kind of come up with the whole trade. I'd be curious to find out who they used. The Kraken OTC desk is amazing to kind of talk about them a little bit. But I suspect that they use multiple parties. And if anyone else wants to do this, it's gonna be very difficult. And if 3 people want to do this, it's impossible. You can't do it. You can't do it without significantly boosting up the price. And remember, like they're doing this as kind of like a reserve asset. Not that every Fortune 500 company cannot do this. It is literally impossible, because there's only a cap supply of 21 million, right? And I think there's only the current is like 18 or 19 million. So, man, without significantly moving up the price, other companies can't do this, you know. And it was so. And to kind of add to Dan's point, man, that Pomp interview was a game changer. And us Bitcoiners have been talking about this for a very long time. We have been talking about a public company making Bitcoin one of the reserve assets. I think the next stage would be a small country, right? But us Bitcoiners have been talking about this for years. Okay. I remember like telling my father-in-law, and he would just look at me like a crazy person, like, you're crazy, you know? And I'm like, trust me, man, this is going to happen. And MicroStrategy doing this actually happened. It happened, right? So it's just crazy to see what you've been preaching come true, you know? So, man, props to Michael. I think that he's going to be extremely happy. And more importantly, he understands the culture. He understands what it means to hodl. And I think that's very significant, that a CEO of a public company understands the culture. And I think that he was talking about how one of the things that got him into the space was the Bitcoin Twitter culture, you know? So man, props to him. I'm so pumped, you know, and I think we're going to see a lot more companies to follow, and hopefully very soon. I don't know if it's this epoch. I suspect it's this epoch, maybe the next one. I think we're going to see a small country. I think it's good. And it's going to be dominoes after that.
It might be going on behind the scenes right now, dude. A country, not even, it might be a medium or large country, might be secretly buying it right now. I mean, you can't show your cards. You can't, if a country's doing it, if they announced they were doing it, then everybody else would do it and their price would go up. So you got to do this silently. So
the OTC desk, they specialize. Okay. One of the things that they specialize, and the reason that you would use, because remember, when you buy from an OTC desk, they're slapping on a 2.5% to 5% fee. Okay. It's expensive. They specialize in not pumping up the price. But I'm telling you right now, maybe another company could do this, but not 3. Not 3 without someone finding out. It's impossible. You can't do it. Maybe another company, but not 3. So a small country, bro, I don't know. I don't know, man. Bitcoin would be like 100,000 for sure. 100%.
Well, may it happen soon. Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin. Nico is the next Vortex. Pound that like button. All right, let's go to Dragon. What is your thought on this?
Well, Michael should definitely hit up the plebs. That's for sure. I can tell that. If he's listening, Michael, just get on the Techo Carnivore Bitcoin Plebs group on Telegram. You're not going to regret that. And also, it's quite interesting with companies trying to survive with Bitcoin because now inflation is starting to kick in. Like if you can see like house prices, how it's kind of bubbling in New York, for example, you can actually see how the value of the dollar is kind of diminishing. And this might actually push smart companies in order to push their reserves into Bitcoin. So it's totally natural for them. And for countries, it's not highly likely that countries might be pushing into Bitcoin because they still have gold. Since gold, their reserves are still there, they're not really needed right now to push into Bitcoin because that's going to be holding for another epoch. And then what's more apparent is that instead of countries, it's more like politicians are buying into Bitcoin. I know people who are trying to do such kind of things, but it's not totally through the legal ways, but in a sense that probably they just started buying either privately or in a way that it's not notified towards the government, basically. And this gives them an advantage because they're going to become much more influential when the price goes up, and they're going to be able to do much more than what's just possible with euros or anything else. And basically, that's it, I think. Yeah.
I want to give it back to Dan here. Is there anything else you want to add to all this? Since I mean, you've thought a lot about this, I can tell.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, the OTC thing is very, very interesting, and everything Nico says is correct. It's impossible to pull that off again if you're 2 or 3 companies coming in at the same time, and so you're just going to see this huge spike to the upside if that happens.
Do you think a bunch of companies are going to really pile in this soon? I'm of the opinion that things take longer than people think usually in this space. They seem to just get stretched out. Like I've heard little teeny companies are doing it, and that's great. I think little teeny companies should be inspired. You know, in Canada I heard about a few, but I don't know if if they're gonna be any big headlines soon there should be. If they were in their right minds, they should be. So I don't know how soon it will happen eventually, but I'm not holding my breath on the timeline here. But sorry, you keep going.
No, that's fine. And I think it's going to be very interesting. There's going to be a lot of people poring over Q3 earnings reports this year to look for that golden sentence. I think it said in MicroStrategy they're considering alternative investments or something like that. That's how they and then the news dropped. So you know, rest assured, there's going to be people, especially in the Bitcoin space, you know, the analysts that are out there looking through all of these reports, trying to figure out who are the companies that are going to make this move next. And there will be some. There's got to be.
What did you? It was the golden sentence you said. What was that? I like that term there.
Yeah, like in their Q2 earnings report, the transcript, you could read the transcript, and like the sentence in MicroStrategy's report said something along the lines of, "We are looking into alternative investments for our free cash flow."
Someone actually wrote about it. This news has broke over time. Like they didn't somebody noticed that and they actually wrote about it, and I thought that was pretty neat at the time. And then when it was actually announced that they did it, I mean, I was so shocked that it happened so soon. I mean, so look for those golden sentences. I like that. I really said they do foreshadow what they're doing if you read carefully. And if you know what you're talking about. Very, very good point. All right, any of you guys have anything else to say about MicroStrategy before we move on to some other news here? All right, let's talk about since we got some hardcore Bitcoiners here, it's always good to hear their take on the DeFi situation. Now, I don't know how I mean, if you guys really lived through the ICO thing. I think all of you around then, but I don't know how close you were paying attention. Do you think this is similar? We got a story here. Daily Ethereum transactions hit a new historical high amid DeFi boom, and it seems like every week that passes by, it's like it's just crazy in DeFi. You have a really big high, and then something gets hacked. You have a really big low. It's manic depressive almost in the DeFi space, and of course I just think it's gambling. But there's who knows what there's types of innovation that's going on. It's bringing in new types of people. I try to have a positive spin on it, and I do think that it is going to just be a huge story going into 2021 in the same sense that the ICO thing was a huge story. So obviously it's having a tremendous effect on Ethereum right now. We'll start with Nico. What's your take on DeFi overall, and what's been going on lately with these flavor of the month DeFi tokens? Nico.
Sorry, I was on mute. Okay, so to speak on DeFi, first I have to let's talk about Ethereum. Okay, if you look at the hash rate, right, and I'm a miner, so I come from the thought that the hash rate is basically what represents the health of a cryptocurrency. If you look at the Bitcoin hash rate, right, and the Ethereum hash rate in 2017, which is basically the ICO, whatever, man, they weren't the same. Bitcoin's was higher, but Ethereum's has remained the same since 2017. Okay, Bitcoin's has increased by more than 100-fold. Okay, it just keeps going up even after the halving, right? So that tells me that miners or people that have a lot of capital to invest are extremely bullish about the future network of Bitcoin. And with all this Ethereum 2.0 BS, miners they just don't want to mine Ethereum, which means that the chain security hasn't improved since 2017, right? So where's the value proposition there? Now let's talk about DeFi a little bit. DeFi is the new ICO boom. It's the same thing, man. And you're seeing the same thing that happened in 2017. You're seeing the same things right now with this DeFi BS, right? There's there's all these fruits like yams, sushi. It's weird, but it's the same thing, man. It's the same thing. It's an ICO. You know, people, the gamblers, man, want to put their money there, and they just think it's big. I suspect that in the next bull cycle, you're going to see the same thing. You're going to see these coins that are just going to 100x, and then they're going to dump. But I see it as a distraction, and I see it, unfortunately, it's basically a way to kind of get noobs in the thing, and they're thinking that they're going to get rich overnight, and they're going to get wrecked, man. But hopefully some of those noobs end up in Bitcoin, and they find what the real money is. And, you know, because that's one of the benefits of what happened with the ICO thing, is that a lot of people got wrecked, but in the process of getting wrecked, a lot of people ended up in Bitcoin, and they saw the truth, right? They really saw why Bitcoin is unique, what makes Bitcoin different. So, you know, to kind of the silver lining is that we're going to get a whole lot. We're going to get a new segment of Bitcoiners coming in after they get totally destroyed for buying these goddamn fruit coins.
Yes, that is the positive spin I have on it also. There will be many people that will be turned off. The funny thing is, let's go back to the ICO mania. A lot of those guys threw in all their cards. They said it was a joke. They're never coming back. And unfortunately, that was the time. And when everything crashed, that's when they should have been buying Bitcoin. And probably some of those same people are going to be triggered by this and are going to come back because they're going to get FOMO because they're hearing, oh, Bitcoin's going up. And it's unfortunate that some people just keep coming in at the wrong times because they don't have the long-term type of thinking and patience to just get on the real thing, which is Bitcoin. But some are going to learn. Now, before I know when we're talking about altcoins and flavors of the month and DeFi, that by reading the Dragon Lord's freaking Twitter feed, he's going to go off on this. So before he goes off on this, let's just let's go to our buddy here in France. And what's your take on this? You might have a calmer. I mean, or maybe you don't. Maybe you're going to go as wild as this. So take it away.
It's missing one letter. It's missing one letter right at the end of DeFi, this acronym, and that is DeFi U, because that's all it's doing. It's definancing you, and it's not gonna end well. So we need a new hashtag, DeFi U, just buy Bitcoin, and that's it. That's the message.
Okay, you're very, very polite and to the point there. I like that. All right, Dragon, take it away.
This is really interesting. Well, first of all, it's obvious that people who banned the DeFi from Bitcoin, I know of a certain person, they don't have skin in the game. They just want to gamble and make more money, basically, in the end, who will be basically dumping Bitcoin when we reach the next all-time high. They just don't care about the purpose that Bitcoin gives for long-term relationship between people and creating new options in the future, like new companies, new business, new opportunities. And they don't see these things, and then they just focusing on making more profit and then living a good life right now. And that's why I kind of wishing that Martin Tang gonna get wrecked probably, or he already did. But anyway, this is the whole point, that people create these scams, and when you are peddling the scams, you become a scammer also. So what's the point of basically going on to sushi or whatever the fuck these are? Sorry for the bad word. But basically, the whole point is that is you are just basically making people lose money who don't understand what it is. They are probably there for gambling. They probably know it's a scam. But there are other people who honestly believe that this is a functioning system, that is a decentralized financial system, that is anarchist in a sense, but it's a whole bullshit, basically, a lie that is not true. And when you are basically buying their tokens and then dumping them on a higher price, you're just scamming others. There's no explanation for this. There's no other reason for that. You can make some money. If you're making money on sushi, just keep it to yourself. You made some Bitcoin, okay, that's totally fine. Don't flaunt it. Because then that's when people are going to start getting pissed off. Because you're basically scamming people, and that's it. There's no other reasoning. And however these people try to reason that, like Martin tried to do it, that it's so fancy and it's on Ethereum. Oh, no, it is not. It's not. Go get your rainbow unicorn somewhere else, Martin.
Now,
But that's my 2 cents on this shit.
Well, one thing you got to hand it to people. They some of the people that get into DeFi, they just want more Bitcoin. They're just they're going.
No, Martin wanted more Bitcoin, but it threw out saying that Ether was something that was functional. When you start saying things that something beyond Bitcoin that was invented to scam people in en masses, then you are basically the utter lowest part of the entire space, who are not going to be trusting anymore, doing business or whatever, and you're just game over for you. Because then when you say that these things can exist next to Bitcoin and they improve on something, but that they bring something new, they're not bringing anything new. Is scamming something new that should be, welcomed in this space? Should scams be implemented onto Bitcoin? Probably no, they shouldn't be. Well, it doesn't work like that.
People want to do DeFi on Bitcoin. I guess we could talk about that.
Yeah, but not in a sense how Sushi is doing it or these other scam tokens are. It's totally different.
Dude, I don't know how anyone could even get into that sushi thing. The name alone, like you're going to throw a bunch of money at something that calls itself sushi or potato.
And then its creator basically dumped the token in order just to run away and then crawl back crying that he don't want to get sued.
That was very strange. That whole situation is very strange.
Yeah.
Too. I mean, we could go into that also. I got to say, I like these guests today, man. They all remind me of other guests, but I mean, we got a unique combination here. Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin, and dude, Dragon is the next Gigi, perhaps, and who knows? All right. Anyone else want to comment on this lovely subject matter of DeFi and people getting wrecked? Is any positive aspects? I mean, people are. What's the token that's like worth $40,000 now or something like that? That one. What is that? Yearn Finance. Have you guys heard of that one? People are asking me about that just because it's
Yearn Finance. That's how you create your Bitcoins.
Well, it's because they see that huge number. Oh, whoa, we got a question here. Oh no, Robert Hardebeck sent $20. Thank you, man. Thank you, Robert. He says, great show. May your grandmother get well soon. Well, thank you for the well wishes there, Robert. All right, so DeFi, anything left from the panel about DeFi you want to talk about? Okay, good. No, nothing more about DeFi. But guys,
get wrecked shitcoiners, basically.
Yeah, straight up. Don't buy shitcoin.
Oh man, we got hardcore Bitcoiners here today. This Zen is not on the show this week. You can tell. Pound that like button. All right. Now, what else is on the subject matter? Does anyone want to talk about, or did anybody, this is more of an American thing. I don't know if you heard about this, Nico. Jim Cramer said something good about Bitcoin. Does that matter? Do you care at all?
I saw the Pelosi video, but I didn't see him saying something good about Bitcoin. So, man, I'm glad you told me, though, because that's exactly what I'm going to look up after the show.
Yeah, he said something. Yeah, I did not see the Pelosi thing. I can't deal with that politics stuff.
Jim Cramer was interviewed by Pomp as well this week. So Pomp's on fire. And I'm about halfway through the Jim Cramer episode, and they've not touched on Bitcoin. They're just getting there, but I'd finished my driving journey, so I've got to get back into it. But yeah, that's where that's coming from. So I can't say exactly what was said, but there was definitely something positive out of that interview. And who knows? Because if he now starts, he's got a huge following. I don't watch him because I think he's crazy and pushes a different stock every 1 minute, and he's kind of like the original Robin Hood, really. If he, like, from 20 years ago, you can't tell people to buy and sell stocks every minute of every day. It's just crazy. But if he now comes out and speaks well of Bitcoin, then at least we have another person with a huge following, at least uttering the words. So that can only be good for the space, and hopefully people will, pick up the Bitcoin Standard or start listening to a few podcasts or reading a few of Parker's or Robert Breedlove's articles. There's so much great content in this space that is just waiting to be discovered and being documented like this. Imagine, like, here's one for you. I was talking to a friend about this earlier. Imagine, like, in 100, 200 years time, when this period of history gets studied, right? They won't have to rely on text and old paintings. They'll have videos like this. They will have podcasts. They will know the exact conversations that were taking place. Like, imagine being in the room with the founding fathers. None of us can. But now all of this stuff, all of this thing is happening in real time and in this digital space, technological revolution, financial revolution, call it whatever you will. It's, just an honor to be a part and to be awake to it. And I just hope more people can wake up to it.
Oh, wow. Good words. And to all my future descendants watching this, 2020 has been an interesting year. But check out the archives, my future descendants and everyone that's watching this in 2020. Disruptmeister.com. Dan is the next renegade investor. That's what I wanted to say that too. I've compared all three of these guys to other past guests. And if anyone's caught all those illusions, please comment in the comment section. All right. We're getting here toward the end of the show. Yeah, we're definitely close to the end of the show. So has there been anything that I forgot? Any comments? You can promote what you guys are doing. Anything. We'll start with the great Dragon Lord over there somewhere in a mysterious location in Europe or something like that. What's up with you? You have anything? Any stories you thought were big you want to share? The floor is yours.
No idea. I didn't really prepare anything, to be honest.
That's all right. I mean, you can just what are you out? I mean, you're tweeting away. Follow him on Twitter. He's linked below.
Basically, I'm still doing my podcast right now. I got sponsored recently by Citadel 21, so shout out to them. They're going to be coming out with a new volume for their Zine this month on 21st, and volume 2 is already on sale. You should hit up their website and then start buying their Zine. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and Citadel 21 is in the chat right now. So I love, we say that you guys are in motion, creating a publication like that. We were just talking about how there's so much great content creation here. I remember back in 2014, 2015, there was nothing. I mean, there was hardly anything out there. And now it just grows all the time. We can have Zines, we can have videos, we can have podcasts, we can have, God forbid, Instagram posts. I think that's ridiculous, but let people can do whatever they want to do in this space. It is growing more and more, and it's interesting that CEOs of big corporations actually watch some of this stuff. You never know who's watching. So anything else, Dragon Lord?
Yeah, Bitcoin culture, number go ups, basically.
All right. Well, you have made a great debut on the show. Hopefully you will return very soon. People are enjoying this combination. All right, Nico, what do you got to say? You got your podcast to promote too, obviously, but any other big stories?
Guys, just stay humble, stack sats, and long time preference, man. That's the best wisdom that I could tell you. And just every day, man, just make sure that you could just stack a little bit, whether it's $10 to $5. A couple years down the road, you're going to be very happy you did so. And guys, go check out bitvault.com if you need a place to, host your ASIC miners. We get a very attractive electricity rate. And of course, check out Simply Bitcoin. It's a 10-minute daily Bitcoin recap show. It's not as in depth as Adam's show. This long format. I love it. But if you only have 10 minutes, go check it out. Again, it's called Simply Bitcoin. And thanks Adam for having me on. This was a great time.
Dude, you've made a beautiful debut on this show. Hopefully you will return, and your partner in crime over there will hopefully return. Will come on one of my shows also. We're working on that. He's not available on Fridays usually, but we'll figure it all out. And yes, deferral of gratification. That is one of the sayings here. Deferral of gratification, long-term thinking. All right, Dan, the traveling man. Dan, I like this dude a lot because he travels around the world too, like I do, and he's living a unique lifestyle. So share anything you want to about that lifestyle and your book and everything, but any other stories you thought might need to be mentioned. Talk about your appearances, podcasts, etc. The floor is yours.
Thanks, man. Yeah, like I said, really appreciate being invited onto the show and to meet these other guys as well. That's brilliant. I double shill Citadel 21 had Hodlin on the show, and think that they're doing great work, and they're finding some great content from underfollowed accounts. Like people with less than 100 accounts are showing up, and now they're being inspired to write or meme or sing or dance or make a video. It doesn't matter. This space is just, we need you. Like, if you're listening and you've got something on your mind, we need you. Like, join this fight, because, and then reach out to anyone on Twitter, because we can get you followers, we can help, we can share your work, we can critique your work, we can make it better. Everyone's there to help. And, I launched my podcast, Once Bitten, back in February. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. People reached out and they were just so kind and they helped. And like, just people coming on the show to share their ideas is just amazing. There's another guy, a bunch of guys I want to shield, 21ism. Go and follow them on Twitter. My God, man, like, I'm getting an inside look to what they're doing. And it's a Bitcoin art collective. And they have just some huge ideas. And it's going to be really, really fun. They've got already a great deal of video mashups. The James Bond mashup is brilliant by Sir Badminton at Hodler Than Thou. Great work going on in the space. If you want to learn more about me, you can just follow me on Twitter at Princey1976. I wrote a book and traveling the world and how we did that with 4 kids. So, and DMs are open. So, don't feel shy. And thanks again, Adam.
Awesome that you reach out like that. That's really good. Follow all of them. They're linked to below. All right, dudes. It's been a very unique show. It's been a while since I had 3 new guests on at the same time. That's hey, I tried all sorts of different things. It's great. I hope everybody enjoyed it. I had a blast here early in the morning. It's going to be quite a long day for me. But everybody remember, This Week at Bitcoin is every Friday, and you can see all the old shows at techbalt.com, which techbalt, TECHBALT, is also my handle on Twitter. Everybody pound that like button. Thanks a lot, guests. You were great. Thanks a lot, people that are watching this. Just spread the word, retweet it. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Everybody, Happy New Year. Rosh Hashanah is tonight. Again, thank you all. We will see you soon. And let me click the stop live stream. Bye-bye.